Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to our Sky Tonight program. My name is Seth. I'm the curator of astronomy for the Loma Planetarium at MOAS, and in this edition of the program, we are covering the dates of April 18th through April 24th. We're going to start by talking again about the beautiful lineup of planets in the early morning that you got to check out. Then we'll move ahead into the later part of the week where we're going to talk about the peak of the Lyrid meteor shower and mention a really interesting interstellar meteor that was confirmed recently. And then we're going to end with a preview of the sky we're going to talk about when we do our night sky tour and astronomy program at the Tortugas baseball game on April 22nd. So let's get to it. If you've been spending any time in the early morning sky before sunrise while it's still relatively dark out, you may have noticed those four non-twinkling star-like objects slowly rising in the east. And they've been really nice. I know I sound like a broken record talking about these for every episode, but it's been really great seeing all of these planets, especially as they're lined up. And this week, they are pretty evenly spaced in the sky, so I wanted to mention that, especially those who are maybe up early in the morning, heading to work, or walking their dog, or cat if you're one of those folks, or going on a nice morning jog, and you look towards this area towards the east and southeast, you can see these four objects. They all have a different appearance due to their brightness or even their color, but in a clear enough and dark enough sky, they really stand out, and I noticed them recently myself. So if we look here, the morning of the 19th, when they're still relatively evenly spaced, you can find again the planets lined up here, kind of in a diagonal sort of position across the sky. And starting lowest in the sky, we have the largest planet, Jupiter, that's been rising away from the sun. So that's quite nice. That'll be the second brightest of these four. Now, definitely the brightest and the most obvious is the planet Venus, and it's so hard to miss Venus. It really shines as a planet that comes closest to Earth and with a very reflective atmosphere. That one by far stands out the most. But then above and to the right of Venus, we have two more planets. These are a lot less bright, but you can still notice them, like Mars right here. Mars, you'll notice a little bit of reddish color to it. And then above that and to the right of Mars as well is the planet Saturn that we can see there with its beautiful rings if you had a telescope to see it. So really nice to see those planets lined up, and it really makes you think about how people would have thought about this long ago, when everyday folks were just paying attention to the sky and watching the planets move. When they assembled in these sort of neat positions or patterns, it's really not surprising to see that people came up with all these beliefs and traditions and customs related to the really interesting lineup that you see here. And if you've been watching recent episodes, you know that these planets have been kind of jumbling around in this area of the sky as they all go around the sun in their own unique orbits. And if we move through the rest of this week, pay close attention especially to Jupiter and Venus, because what you'll notice as we move into Wednesday and then Thursday, Friday, and then by the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you'll notice that these two planets here, again, Jupiter there and Venus much brighter, are getting closer and closer to each other. And by the end of the month, they're going to come to conjunction when they're really, really close. That's something you definitely got to pay attention to see these very, very bright planets, the second brightest and the first brightest planet, get within a close proximity with each other. And you notice by Sunday morning, the 24th, the waning crescent moon will have joined the scene as well, not too far from Saturn. And then next week, you'll see the moon kind of pass by these planets, since all of these objects lie fairly near the ecliptic, the path the sun seems to make in the sky and the plane of our solar system. So no matter when you have a chance to see these planets in our morning sometime this month, you'll always find them in some interesting configuration and noticeable if you're up at the right time. If you've been wanting to see a meteor shower lately, we have kind of been in a meteor shower drought. So that is sort of changing this coming April 21st and 22nd when we have the annual peak of the Lyrid meteor shower. And this is a meteor shower that radiates at a point near the constellation known as Lyra the Harp down here. I have the time set to very early morning, the 22nd, just after midnight, when at this time of year, that's when Lyra is rising. Lyra has a really bright star of Vega inside of it. If we turn on the constellation, you can see it. It's one of the smallest constellations as well, and one designated for the summertime, so the Lyrids are near it. What's interesting though is that the Lyrids actually sit closer to the famous constellation of Hercules, the mighty hero or warrior. So the Lyrids are pretty much in between Hercules and Lyra the Harp. But but either way, the name refers to the small constellation of Lyra. So this meteor shower always occurs in April, between April 15th and about April 29th, and that's because Earth is moving through the debris trail of Comet Thatcher at this time of the year, or more technically speaking, C/1861 G1. The C refers to the comet being a long period comet of a more than 200-year period. Actually, Comet Thatcher takes about 416 years to go around the sun one time, and the last time it was closest to Earth, or what's called perihelion, was back in 1861, and that was when it was discovered by an astronomer named Alfred Thatcher. Now, the Lyrids aren't the most powerful meteor showers for the year, with up to 18 meteors per hour seen if you're in a really dark spot. Now, this year might be a little challenging because the moon will probably interfere with the visibility of the meteors from this particular shower. And normally with the Lyrids, the best time to see it is between midnight and dawn. But this year is probably going to be best between Thursday night, the 21st at 11 p.m. to Friday morning at about 1 in the morning, because by 2 in the morning, the 67% illuminated moon will have risen. We can actually see that here in Stellarium. I have the time set to 1 in the morning on the 22nd, that's Friday morning. So if we just move ahead in time just a little bit to 2 a.m., you'll see rising in the east a fairly large moon. It will be a waning gibbous moon, but still big enough to possibly interfere with the very faint meteors, these little bits of ice and rock that are moving at tremendous speed through our atmosphere. And they can be obscured by the moon or any other amount of light pollution in the sky. So you do have that to contend with, but that's okay. It still doesn't mean that you won't see any meteors from this particular shower. And even the following night, between about 11 p.m. and maybe even 2 a.m., since the moon will have moved a little bit farther from its current position, you still may see a meteor or two from the Lyrids. And the Lyrids are also well known for its occasional bright fireballs. These are meteors maybe a grapefruit in size or larger, that as they go through the atmosphere, they burn really bright. Sometimes they're known as fireballs, or more technically speaking, they're known as bolides, and they can be quite nice. Now, speaking of fireballs or bolides, very recently there was a paper published by a former undergraduate student of Harvard and a professor from Harvard University that revealed that back in January of 2014, that an interstellar meteor was probably seen for the first time, or the first one to be confirmed, shooting across our sky. And that's really exciting because most of the meteors or comets or asteroids that you can occasionally see in the sky are within our solar system. But sometimes we have foreign visitors from other places in the universe, and that's really exciting. Now, this is not the first time we've discovered objects outside of our solar system entering ours. Back in 2017, there's a really interesting kind of cigar-shaped asteroid called Oumuamua. It's a Hawaiian name, which is a great name to say over and over again. Was seen moving at tremendous speed in our solar system. Back in 2018 and 2019, a comet known as Borisov was discovered to be of interstellar origin as well. So we have found these on occasion, and these are not the only objects that have that origin, but the ones we've confirmed by their velocities and how they're moving through the solar system. They usually move very, very quickly, so they're not really captured by the sun's gravity, and they're moving what are called hyperbolic orbits and making just a quick flyby through the solar system. And here in Stellarium, I've moved our location to the Bismarck Sea just north of Papua New Guinea in the Western Pacific, all north of Australia, where this interstellar meteor was seen on January 8th at about 1705 UTC in 2014. In Papua New Guinea, that would have been January 9th at 3:05 in the morning. Now, it's not clear if anyone actually saw this, but this was detected by a US government satellite. And here's where NASA does keep track of fireballs and bolides that have been reported by government sensors. This is part of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is called the Center for Near-Earth Object Studies. And they have a fireball section of their webpage that we see here in the browser. And what's really neat is we have this map here, this interactive map that you can move around, showing fireballs reported by government sensors from 1988 to 2022. And we can actually move over to the area where this meteor was detected and zoom into the area just north of Papua New Guinea. Right out here, this is the Bismarck Sea here, and this is Australia down there. And if we click right there, you can see that little label, and it says 2014 January 8th at 1705 UTC. That is the very meteor that was observed. And how do we know that's interstellar? Well, it's moving at a tremendous speed of about 45 kilometers per second. That is about 28 miles per second, and that's about 100,000 miles per hour. That is very fast, much faster than any known meteors that have been observed in modern times, which tells us that it's on a trajectory moving very quickly through the solar system, but it happened to hit Earth instead of just move through our neighborhood of planets and back into interstellar space again. So it made a direct hit to our planet. And it took some time to confirm this because this was detected on a government satellite that has national security priorities. And they can't always give out the exact detail of various sightings because some of these satellites are used to detect explosions, particularly nuclear explosions or other large explosive events that may be occurring around the world. And even the NOAA GOES satellite used for detecting lightning strikes has been used to detect meteor fireballs moving through the atmosphere. But what happened is eventually these two astronomers from Harvard who were studying this particular meteor had a chance to work with the US Space Command, and finally in this tweet it shows that the US Space Command finally was able to provide their most accurate data for this and provide a memo to confirm the speed and the accuracy of the movement of this particular meteor that was seen in 2014. And that tells us it's the first meteor so far that we have detected coming from interstellar space or from another solar system. It predates the discovery of Oumuamua, that asteroid that was seen in 2017. And it doesn't mean it's the only one ever observed. Maybe even before that there were others, but this is the one that we can definitely confirm to have occurred. And that's very exciting to be able to notice these, and it maybe can help us understand objects coming from other places in the universe. So maybe you have a chance to see a Lyrid meteor or two streaking across the sky. Of course, those come from within our solar system, just like most of them that you would find in the sky, but it's always neat to know that maybe, just maybe, there could be one that comes from interstellar space, moving at tremendous speed as it collides with Earth's atmosphere. For the last several years, we've made it the annual tradition to partner with the Daytona Tortugas minor league baseball team at the Jackie Robinson Ballpark, where we host an astronomy night, usually in the springtime. And this is where, after the game, myself and other Lohmann Planetarium staff members get a chance to do a star party right on the field. So the ballpark will turn their lights off after the game, and I give a tour with a green laser pointer of the objects currently in the night sky, along with the help of my fellow planetarium colleagues. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to enjoy baseball and astronomy all in one night. So it's a wonderful partnership that we have with the Tortugas. It's a great team, by the way, as well. So we're big fans of each other. So I just want a preview of what I'll be talking about on that night. If you're in this area and a local and you have a chance to attend the game, this will be the preview of what I mention. And even if you're not in this area, this is still a good roundup of the objects that we can see right now if you have a chance to do some stargazing soon. Around the 9:30 start time or so, depends on how long the game goes for, of course. I'll probably start in the western part of the sky where we see some leftover wintertime constellations. So we can see a little bit of Orion the Hunter that may be just above the stadium seating there, with the Orion Nebula that sits there. And it's always great to talk about Orion because of the stars inside of him, particularly his left foot Rigel, a prominent blue star, and the really famous right shoulder or armpit of Orion, Betelgeuse, that red super giant star as well. That's always great. And it's also nice too that even in Daytona with a little bit of light pollution, we can still very easily see the brightest star in the night sky, Sirius, that Orion's belt points to, of course, one of Orion's hunting dogs from Greek mythology. And just above it, just to kind of add to this story here, the little dog there of Orion as well, called Procyon, only made by two stars. Those two dogs, Canis Major, Canis Minor, still lingering in the sky. If we look just north of Orion, we may have a little bit tougher time to see the stars of Taurus the Bull, but they'll be there. But what's nice is we still have a great view of the star Capella, the really bright star in Auriga the Charioteer, and above all of that, the Gemini twins with Pollux and Castor, the heads of these two famous twins, these sailors from Greek mythology. So those are some really nice wintertime objects still left over that will be partly visible in the western part of the sky. But of course, we're in the springtime where we're going to really see that night those lovely springtime constellations that are very high up. And it'll be great to really talk about Leo the Lion. I'll be pretty much straight up on this evening there. I just clicked on the brightest star in Leo called Regulus. And that's a good star to always talk about because it's a multiple star system, which, by the way, most stars are like that in the sky anyway. And that's right at the bottom of the hook shape known as the sickle of Leo, so that is something you may recognize in that area. It may be a little hard to see the stars of Hydra, the sea serpent here, but we may get a chance to see the star, the backbone star of Hydra, known as Alphard, which means the individual. So that one kind of stands alone in the sky. And if we're in an area with a little bit of light pollution, you wouldn't really see the stars around in any way, so you still may see Alphard though. It's a bright enough magnitude to be able to see in the skies we'll be looking at. And what will also be nice to really mention is off to the east. And for us, they'll be kind of looking towards the ocean side of the sky. It's a really nice view from the Jackie Robinson Ballpark stand. You can see the city around you and the bridge that goes over the Halifax River before you get to the ocean. So it's a really nice area. And in that area, we'll see the bright stars for the springtime that the Big Dipper point to. It's something I talk about all the time. I've already mentioned in the last couple episodes, but here's the Big Dipper really high in the sky right now. And the end of the handle of the Big Dipper kind of arcs to Arcturus. That really is the brightest star in our spring sky, part of the constellation Boötes, the herdsman. And it's great to talk about the star because it's one similar to what our sun will be like when it starts dying and bloating up into a red giant. And then from there we spike to Spike, also noticeable in the sky, part of Virgo the Maiden. And talking about deep sky objects, I can really get into all the galaxies that are in this area, the Virgo cluster of galaxies in this area, and up here as well, where we can find M87 and that black hole that was imaged for the first time a few years ago. So those are great springtime objects, along with some leftover wintertime ones as well, that we'll have a chance to see after the game on Friday, April 22nd, the Tortugas game here in Daytona Beach. So that's a lot of fun and something we always look forward to every year. So if you're in this area, please stop by. The first 500 guests get a really cool astronomy themed t-shirt, and it's a lot of fun for everyone. So we hope to see you there for the Astronomy Night at the Ballpark with the Daytona Tortugas. Well, you made it for another edition of our Sky Tonight program. Thank you very much for tuning in. And if you don't see us at one of our special events, definitely check us out at the Museum of Arts and Sciences and the Lohman Planetarium, where we're running shows every day. If you want any more information about our special events or our programs or our shows in our planetarium, please go online and check out our website. With that, we hope to see you back here again. Take care, and of course, happy stargazing.